Welcome. Stick around if you want to learn about the art and philosophy of beautiful movement mixed with evidence-based exercise science. We will be having tough and inspiring conversations with other coaches, experts, artists, and athletes. Our goal is to challenge myths, explore concepts, and engage in healthy debate as we dive deep with intrigue and curiosity. I'm your host, Hannah Teutscher. I've been teaching dance, Pilates, and yoga for over 2 decades. And what I've learned is that movement can be the joy that integrates us all together. When we can trust and express ourselves through our bodies, we are unlimited in our ability to change ourselves and our communities for the better. We, as movement teachers and coaches, have the power to help people experience this for themselves. Okay, everyone, let's dive in. Exchanging ideas and changing people's lives one session at a time. This is the Pilates Exchange. Welcome back to the Pilates Exchange. I'm your host, Hannah Teutscher. This is our last one of the season. It will be our wrap-up. So, what I wanted to talk to you guys about, hopefully it's going to give you some really good ideas going into this next year. I would say 99% of the time, we're coming into the end of the year thinking about New Year's resolutions. What do we want to let go of for the old year, and setting some new inputs and new inspiration for the coming year. So today I thought we would sort of just go into a whole bunch of different ideas of what are some things that you can accomplish in this coming year. Very excited about this because I hope that I have uncovered a few new ideas for you. Now, as we go through this pretty big list, I don't want you to feel pressure that you have to do all of these things. What I would love for you to do is to kind of take a look at what feels a bit scary of my suggestions, what's the easiest to do, and what's a little bit scary. And maybe pick out those two. All the ones that are like sort of in the middle, like could do it, but it's all right. Those are the ones I want you to leave aside. So I want you to have one thing that is going to make you feel good and say, yep, got that, easy peasy. The other thing is going to be the scary one where it's going to require a little bit more effort, a little bit more structure from your side. Maybe it's a longer term goal, or maybe it's just because the actual thing is a bit more scary. And I'd like you to try to do those ones. Okay. So not everything that I'm going to be listing. As Pilates teachers, I believe, or movement teachers in general, we are caregivers by nature. We are teachers by nature. That means we're giving a lot of our energy away. And I think one of the hardest things for us to do is to take time back for ourselves and to set appropriate boundaries. That's just a feeling that I have for not only myself, but from the many other teachers that I coach and I mentor. So some of these suggestions are going to be in that area. So let's begin. These are New Year's ideas or resolutions to help you give some new energy. One of these could be, this is the one probably that I see most often in the Facebook groups, is that you reinvest into your personal practice. I think this is a great idea, but here's the thing. I don't feel like if you're already teaching Pilates, I don't absolutely feel like you have to be reinvesting into your personal Pilates practice. So what I mean is that if you've already had many years of experience in there, maybe it's time to try to learn a different movement modality, not to teach it, but just to experience it in your body. I think it's always great for us to go back into that beginner's mindset, to feel what it's like. You're an expert in this one field. What does it feel like to be a beginner in a different movement modality? To put ourselves back into that feeling of not being able to do something well, of just the excitement of understanding new things. It's great to be able to learn something new. So whether it is yoga or barre or Feldenkrais or Alexander technique or gyrotonics or, there's so many of them. Anything. Maybe you learn how to unicycle. I don't, rock climbing, karate. What else? Learning how to swim. That was one of my New Year's resolutions a couple years ago, was learning how to swim. Let me tell you how eye-opening that was. That was an incredible experience for me because that's something that I have some deep fears about. It was very, very great for me to overcome those fears. And yeah, so that's one idea. Not just going deeper into your Pilates practice, but really to learn something new. Maybe it is tackling those advanced exercises. Great. Perfect. What I do want to say though is that you know this, you probably coach your clients on this as well, but just a reminder, because sometimes we make rules for ourselves that are harder than what we would say for our clients. So sometimes we're like, oh yeah, for our clients, just move 10 minutes and that's great. But for me, I need to move 2 hours because I'm the professional. No, same rules apply for you. Dedicating time for yourself, whether it's 10 minutes or 1 hour, one time a week, couple times a week, whatever it is, make sure it's sustainable. Because nothing is worse than you setting up a new goal and then not putting it into place because it is just too big and too audacious to be able to carry through. I'm a big proponent in figuring out how you're going to do the thing, right? So make it possible for you to integrate it into your life and your lifestyle. This could be also taking other people's classes. All right. So even if you're the owner of the studio, maybe you're taking some of your teachers' classes. Maybe you are going to go to a different studio. Like I have studios around here in Nuremberg that I love. I love a few of their teachers. I go and take classes. It is great to be a student. If that means that every once in a while you're like, oh no, I can't do that in my town. Maybe it is when you travel to go and take classes with someone else in a different town. The reason why I think that would be a great thing to do is it gets you out of your comfort zone. It gets you analyzing what other people are doing well in their studio spaces and in their classes and seeing what you can implement for your own classes. So I love that for a possible resolution for next year. You might want to think about doing continuing education online. Before I was saying, okay, go and take someone else's classes. That would be like there in person. But what about a continuing education online, whether it's a live stream class with someone or a longer workshop? And I want to be careful here. It's not the intention is really what matters. So it's not that you are coming from this as a place where you have to learn more and more and more before you are qualified to teach. No, this is like take a continuing education in a topic that you want to learn about for you. This is filling up your cup, not that we make this into some that you need to make money from the thing. If you're interested in nutrition for yourself, then take a nutrition class. If you're interested in women's health, then learn about that. So it's something that is going to keep your brain active, keep your brain excited and curious. That's important. Along that route, maybe you're going to make a book list. A book. Here's the thing, not just the book list and not just ordering the books online, but you're going to set time to read them. Read the books. Okay. Now that's going to be probably hard for some of us that are very digital oriented, but the act of having that book in your hand and reading it and setting time for yourself to do that for that type of continuing education is really nice. It doesn't have to be Pilates books. It can be. There's some really great ones out there, but it doesn't have to be Pilates books. It could be something else. We're specifically talking in the Pilates world. Maybe it's something adjacent to Pilates. Maybe it's about coaching. Maybe it's about something else. And maybe it's just not. Maybe it's just you taking time for you to do something that, again, feels good for your brain. Maybe another low-cost way to do continuing education is following podcasts just like this one. So hit the follow button if you have not done that already. That's very helpful for us. But you can get great information. There's several really wonderful podcasts that are out there. And maybe it's just checking in with those podcasts on your way to work. But that would be an easy way to implement it. If you're going to work in the car or you walk to work like I do, put on those headphones and just get a little dose of inspiration, even one time a week would be great. The thing is that with any of these, you got to already schedule it out. When are you going to do it? It's not enough just to say, okay, I'm going to listen to podcasts this year. What does that look like? How could you implement it? Then put it on the schedule and get it done. You might want to consider, if you have a studio already, or you're thinking about opening a business or a studio, then taking a business class. Even those of us that have studios already running, there are a lot of us do not come in with having business backgrounds. And that means that there are areas of our business that are a bit scary still. So where do we need to up level in there? Or if you're starting the new studio, what's the foundation going to be on? If that feels scary, that's where we need to go into. Because it's only scary because you don't know it yet. Yeah. Sometimes those unknowns that's the scary part of it. Once you got the information that's in there, it's just a process of step by step lining out the things that you're going to have to do with this new knowledge. Once you break it down, not scary at all. It's just little steps, one foot in front of the other. So maybe it's a business class. Maybe it's writing a business plan. For those of us with studios, maybe it's really getting into your numbers and make sure that you are profitable. Unfortunately, there are many, many studios that are out there that are not profitable, or they're just paycheck to paycheck. So diving into those numbers and figuring out why is that. It's going to be painful, but you are worth it. It's important that you are able to have a business that actually brings you some returns. That's not a bad thing. You're living a lot, like if you're like us, you're living from the studio. The studio has to be successful enough that you can sleep at night. If you are not able to make those numbers work, the level of stress that comes with that is not good for your health. You won't be able to do your clients any good if you are burned out or become ill of the stress of not having a solid business structure in there. It might be up-leveling your teaching skills, whether that is learning how to coach better, learning how to cue better. Maybe it's about adding that creativity into your classes, shaking it up a little bit. For those of us that have been teaching a long time, we don't want to hit that burnout spot. So what is it that you feel would make it exciting for you? Okay, so any part of the teaching. Maybe it's ordering some new props for the studio just so you have something else to play with in there. Maybe your resolution is going to be when we talk about business but not finances, what sort of automations can you implement to make your life easier? That would be one thing that you could spend some time with. Maybe it's doing the social media that you know that you should do and not just wasting your time on Instagram. Maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's TikTok. I don't know where you like to hang out there, but what would bring your teaching forward? What would bring if clients were able to find you, what on those social media sites so that you're not just wasting your time on there? I know some of us are like, oh yeah, but I'm just getting inspiration in there. True. Maybe, although a lot of us spend way too much time on there, maybe it's putting limits on the time that you're there. So there are apps that help you track how much time you are spending and maybe reduce the time that you're on there. Why? Because it's good for your brain. It's better, good brain health. Don't spend so much time on these social media sites. I would rather you be focused on yourself and your continuing learning there. Maybe you've always wanted to have a blog, write a blog, and this is your year. Yes, you're going to have to learn a little bit to get it up there. There's a lot of different hosting sites for your blog. Maybe it's on your own website. But to dive into that, You don't have to be able to write perfect. It's like with anything. You got to start though. So if writing is your thing or you've ever dreamt about writing, starting with a blog is a beautiful spot. Remember, those skills, they get better with time. Same thing with podcasting, same thing with teaching, same thing with teaching online or creating videos. It's starting somewhere. It's exactly what you're going to be telling your clients when they come in on that first class. They don't need to know how to do everything perfect, but they're not going to get any better if they're not doing it. So where is it that you would like to show up for yourself? Is it in a blog? Is it in a podcast? Is it creating some YouTube videos? Maybe when we're talking about the business stuff, maybe it's taking a look at your website and doing an overhaul of that. Maybe that's your resolution for the year. It's a big project. Maybe you don't have to do it all by yourself. Maybe it's setting a little bit of money aside and working with someone else to take care of that part of it. If it feels a little bit too overwhelming, maybe that's the gift to yourself, is to not have to do it all by yourself. Another great resolution would be to honor your own boundaries, your better boundaries, whether that is time in the studio, before classes, after classes. Maybe it is, depending on how those boundaries are now in place, maybe it is setting aside only certain amount of time, again, on social media, so that you can honor your time. Maybe it is setting boundaries on how clients, your students, are able to contact you. Maybe that means investing in a business phone, a studio phone, so that you can separate personal from business. Maybe it is reducing the hours that you're teaching if you're doing too much. It could look a lot of different ways, those better boundaries. It might also look like time management. How much time are you spending planning your classes? What can you recycle and reuse for your classes? What sort of structures do you need in place to make your class planning faster and more efficient? You don't have to reinvent the wheel every single class. So these are all just ideas, just ideas of what could you do for your New Year's resolution, if you do those resolutions, to continue along your path, to make your teaching life even better, even richer, even more inspired. I'd love to find out what you have on your plans. For mine, I'm going to be working on a little bit of consolidation and better time management. Those are my big ones for next year. You'll see this coming out in a lot of different ways. For those of you that are on our newsletter, we have some really exciting things planned. Also, for those that are listening to this podcast, I do have some good things planned, more insights and more focus for this coming year. But you'll find out more about that when you're on my newsletter. Reach out to me. Let me know what you're doing. Let me know what you're thinking about doing. And if you have any questions about, do you want my big book list of my favorite people or favorite, educations that I've done, some more ideas, let me know. I'm happy to be a resource for you. Wishing you a wonderful closing of this year and the starting of a new year. Happy teaching, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. A great cost-free way of supporting us and the podcast would be to give us a 5-star rating. You could also look down into the show notes and grab any one of the free resources for teachers. I hope to see you next week on the Pilates Exchange. Happy teaching, everyone.